Hi, my name's John.
And I'm Allie.
And when we finished Season 2 of Fruits Basket,
we thought it would be a fun idea to look back at Season 1
and talk about all the cool details that we may have missed from an anime only
and a manga reader's perspective.
So join us today as we talk about Season 1, Episode 11, This is a Wonderful Inn. Welcome back to another episode of our Fruits Basket podcast. So if you like this kind of content, you want to see more of it coming from the channel, make sure to like the video, subscribe, and why not even ringing that notification bell so you never miss another upload. Because we're going to be looking at the rest of Season 1 of Fruits Basket as a retrospective. So if you have not watched Season 2 yet, make sure to click off this video now because there will be spoilers. But with all that out of the way, where are we starting?
Well, I guess first we have to address the elephant in the room. You know, that number below the video? That one? Yeah.
Oh, you mean the one that is either just below 10,000 or right above 10,000, depending on when this video comes out? That number?
I do be referring to that number.
You do be?
I do.
Oh no. Well, regardless, thank you all who are subscribed to the channel. It's mind-boggling that us talking about psychology and Fruits Basket could get us over 10,000 subscribers. I don't know. I'm speechless. But thank you all.
And we're gonna have a 10K celebration. We're gonna have a little party in our Discord, and that's gonna be pretty fun. We haven't planned it yet, but it'll be a time. Please join our Discord. Please be friends with our wholesome community. There's so much. I love them.
Yes,
and
they're all so wonderful. And on top of that, what else are we doing?
We're doing a special little video where we're going to fill out some tier lists to celebrate 10K. And we want to compare our answers to your opinions. So if you want to fill out the tier lists, we'll have them linked below. And they're also in a community post. So go fill them out so that we can have different opinions, and then we'll look at your opinions being different and we'll be like, whoa.
Well, our opinions are so different.
Mm-hmm.
That's the magic of life. But I think that's all of the agenda before we actually dive into this glorious video.
Oh yeah. Good episode. It was a good one.
Yes, good one. Very good. Mm-hmm. So we start out and it's such a mood because exams are just ending.
Remember those? I mean...
I'm still in school.
Oh yes, I'm not. Well, they finished testing. And it's so cute because Tohru got tutoring help from Yuki, which is very adorable. And Kyo, turns out that he's a big ol' nerd, and he studied in his room by himself, and Tohru even thinks about it, and she's like, oh, just imagining him just in his room, huddled over a book, makes me smile. Very cute, very wholesome. And
so wholesome.
Then Hanajima, she's like, no, I'm so dumb that my wave powers can't even help me. And I just love the roles that everyone is taking here. Because, like, Prince Yuki, okay, like, usually if people are attractive and loved for being attractive, they're dumb. So, already breaking that stereotype. Kyo, bad boys being smart and nerdy? Are you kidding me? No. Doesn't make any sense. And then Hanajima, the girl you would expect to be super, super smart, she's like, no, I'm not. Also, I'm the comedic relief in this show. What? I love it.
No, yeah. It's so cool how all of these characters are so inherently human. This show, just in general, is you can't judge a book by its cover. Because you're right. Some fit the mold, some don't. And that's just so a microcosm of real life. Whereas in a lot of shows, whether it's anime or even regular TV shows or whatever, you can sometimes pin down what the character's gonna be like just by how they look. And the fact that Fruits Basket is so good at subverting that just makes it so just delightful. But then we see a little scene that we'll talk about a little bit later of Mayu pulling Tohru from the classroom and talking to her. And then we cut to Tohru cleaning with Momiji helping.
Yeah, and so he's helping her out at work because that's his father's building, so they both get a little bit out of it because he gets to spy on his mom and sister, which, you know, sad, but... Oh. But he also wants to give Tohru a surprise, and that's why he's hanging around. So he follows Tohru back home. He finally gets to see Shigure's house, which is kind of crazy that he's never seen Shigure's house before. And
oh my god, he has it. Like, I know that's, like, addressed, but, like, I don't think it really processed in my brain that he hadn't yet, because it just feels so normal at this point that everyone's just kind of in and out of Shigure's house, like the Full House.
Yeah. I love the scene where Momiji enters the house and everything, because Kyo gets out of the bath. And then Kyo immediately starts teasing and messing with Momiji. And this is yet another time that we see Kyo kind of low-key being the big brother of a lot of the men in the Soma family. It's just so funny how Kyo treats so many of the Zodiac members and how he teases Momiji and Hatsuharu and Hiro, and he always has the same kind of position with them where he's, you know, messing up their hair or tackling them or whatever he has to do to mess with them in that moment. And then even with some of the girls, like with Reen, they would have those stare downs. And I just think it's so cute how he's the big brother. I don't know.
No, it is really precious just seeing all of these little dynamics, because it can be really easy to get into that mindset that, oh, everyone just dislikes him because that's the narrative that's supposed to be pushed kind of by Akito, that he is this very isolated individual, this outcast from the Zodiac, when in reality, like you said, most of the Zodiac embraces him and enjoys his company. It's just in the legend, he's the outcast, so that makes him the outcast. Plus, he's gonna be locked away forever, so, you know.
Details.
Details.
But after that little teasing session, Momiji says that he wants to take Tohru to a hot spring for White Day. I love this scene because everyone has such an intense reaction. And they're also different. So Momiji, he keeps pushing that he needs to spend time with Tohru. And like, you're gonna come to the inn with me. It's gonna be so much fun. We'll spend time together. And he does that throughout the whole episode. Like, I want to bathe with you. I want to sleep in the same bed as you. Like, I want to spend so much time with you.
Momiji, you're being so much. Like,
it is.
You're at a 12. You need to take it down to a 9, right? Like, too much. Too much. But it shows his intense desire to show his love language, which I think is quality time. And no, 100%. I 100% agree with that, because we see that throughout the series, him just wanting to be around people, him being upset when he can't be around people. No, quality time, for sure.
And so that's his prerogative right there. Whereas Kyo, like, gets kind of aggravated, and, you know, jury's out on that one, why it's probably just because of Momiji, but he gets a little aggravated. And Yuki gets distracted because he wants to give Tohru a White Day present, and now he's like, what am I gonna give her this thing? Because he immediately looks over to his bag and he sees the ribbon in the packaging that he bought for Tohru for White Day, and he looks over at it, he almost looks glum. Like, he looks...
Wait, really?
Like he's upset. Yeah.
I completely missed that.
Yeah, the ribbon didn't come out of nowhere. Like, you know before White Day even happens that he got her something.
What?
Yeah, it's in his bag.
Bruh. I didn't know that. I didn't... Cool. But on top of all of that, I think we need to talk about how Tohru immediately kind of goes to her mom and kind of what her mom would say in this circumstance. Because she's still very much coping with like the loss of her mom, obviously. But I love these small little droplets of hints that they have in this first season that really illustrate that she is not okay. You know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
We haven't really seen it, unless there's something that I'm forgetting at this point, since the first episode when she was literally trying to claw her mother out. Obviously, she spent New Year's with her, but that felt more ceremonious. Her just kind of getting really upset that she wouldn't be able to spend a vacation with her, something just like the hot springs, feels very much like she has a lot of stuff that she just has not even begun to work out yet, because she even gets kind of teary-eyed thinking about that mixed with the money situation.
Yeah. And I mean, knowing the little that I know about PTSD and psychology and all of that, it makes sense why certain holidays would bring up memories of your family members. Like, that's why people get really upset during Christmas or during, I don't know, like Thanksgiving, because you remember, oh, okay, that seat would have been filled by that family member. I would have been watching this show with them. She never, to our knowledge, went to a hot spring with her mom. She doesn't share a story like that. She doesn't share that she ever went on vacation with her mom. The most that we know is that they would break watermelon outside of their apartment, and then later inside of their apartment too. But it's not like she's missing something and is triggering something that she would have had with her mom. She's just thinking about her mom. In a way it kind of is, though, because she's mourning the loss of not being able to experience this for the first time with her mom. Oh, I've never heard it that way.
So that's what it very much feels like for me, because most of the places she would go for the first time, or most of the things she would see for the first time, were with her mother, because they were almost inseparable, it seemed like, outside of school. And so the idea of going on a vacation without her mom, seeing new sights, doing new things without her mom, I feel like that could be very, like, upsetting for her, and it just kind of wells up, even though for most people, and we even see a little bit later in the episode, Kyo even pointing it out, this isn't something like huge and crazy, you know?
Yeah, I hadn't thought of it that way. I guess this is the first thing that she's doing that's new without her mom.
But it's after this that Shigure, it kind of brings up that she's behind on payments for the school trip, because apparently money management is not part of the household responsibility she was in charge of with her mom. Probably good.
She's, Tohru likes to do things for people, and she knew that she could make it up. She knew it would be okay. She didn't think that so many people would be notified that she spent a lot of money on those Valentine's Day chocolates, but...
But still, it kind of, I think it's a perfect segue into that idiotic traveler story that Momiji brings up very astutely after she goes up. She gets the big reaction from everyone, and she goes up to get a bath.
And after she leaves, Kyo's immediate thoughts are, I don't know, they're just a lot, because it tells you so much about him once you know what his fate is going to be in terms of being locked up. So his immediate reaction is to think about all the things that she could be spending her money on that would be better. Like, she could have purchased clothes with that, or she could have done anything, really. She's just wasting all of her money, and she's gonna miss out on all of the good stuff in life. And that's his first thoughts, because he knows how short of a time he has left, and he wants to make the most of it, and he's thinking that she needs to be making the most of it too, not spending her time worrying about other people. Why would you do that? Come on, enjoy your life. So he really gains a lot from this story that Momiji's going to tell, because he hadn't thought about gift giving in that way being something that would be meaningful to a person or that could bring them joy. I don't think, at least in this moment, he wasn't thinking about that. He was thinking about having a good time before you go.
Oh yeah. That's really interesting. I hadn't thought of it like that.
Yes. But that idiotic traveler story, tell me about it, because I know you got some feelings.
Oh my gosh. Okay. I love this instance because it's the first time we really see just how wise Momiji is. Like, wise beyond his years, because he knows exactly what he's doing with telling this story in front of Kyo and Yuki.
Mm-hmm.
With that said, though, I feel like this story is so much more important than just for this episode, you know? Because it feels very like these first couple episodes in season 1 all feel like they have a very core theme or like lesson of the week kind of idea to them.
Mm-hmm.
And this week, it's very much about, you know, he tells this idiotic traveler story, and then they end up all giving her gifts after she spent so much money of her own to the point where she was behind on payments. It's like, okay, like that supersedes the story. Yay, it's all fixed, everyone's happy, awesome. But I don't think that's it. This isn't just a self-contained thing. The idiotic traveler story is quite literally Tohru's story throughout. I think, obviously I don't know season 3, but I feel as though it's her storyline throughout the entire series, at least until some big catalyst for change might happen in the 3rd season, you know?
Okay. How so?
Because while there are loads of people who give her physical gifts throughout the story, Yuki gives her the ribbons in this episode, Momiji the hot spring trip, this, that, the other thing. She gets physical gifts from a lot of people, and a lot of people are very kind to her. But in terms of her emotional reservoir and just the weight she has, the burden of everyone else's stuff, everyone just takes and takes and takes and takes, including Kyo, Yuki. Everyone keeps taking and adding on to that burden for her without really ever relieving any of it moving forward, even though she's still coping with the death of her mother. I mean, Yuki sees her as a villain for his mom, and he always looks for affirmation from Tohru, and that's very much the crux of their relationship. Mm-hmm. And while I don't think that that's bad on Yuki's part by any means, I think that's just how it kind of developed. That's one aspect. And we can see that in a lot of her different relationships, especially like Kazuma, you know? I love Kazuma to death. He is best dad, because he really looks out for what's best for Kyo, but he puts so much pressure on Tohru to help him and make his time outside of the cage as good as possible, and he just like really piles so much on, and then all the weight from the curse, and I could talk about that forever, but you know what I'm saying, right? Like,
yeah.
People just pile onto her, and while Kyo recognizes it, he hasn't really done that much to help her hold the burden yet, you know?
I mean, out of all of the characters, he's the one who, especially during the beach arc, he can tell that she starts to feel guilty about talking about her mom, and he continues to be that outlet for her and bring it up. So I guess he carries the weight of her guilt in that way, But that was just like one small issue that popped up in the middle of the beach arc. When it comes to other things that upset her, he hasn't really gotten to the core of it yet.
Yeah.
But
and I think he's
at
getting
least
there.
starting.
I think he's getting there slowly but surely. But this story is very much people just really having their baggage held up by Tohru. You know, Uotani and Kureno's fledgling relationship. Momiji and his sister's relationship, you know? So she's carrying so much and people just keep like letting her. And so while it could be perceived as this story, I went on a big long tangent there, but this could be perceived as something that's very self-contained. It's just the plot of the show.
Oh yeah, I mean the amount of sleepless nights that she had worrying about people, whether it was Reen or it was Momiji, or you know, like she just keeps worrying about people.
But like no human is a bottomless pit of kind. No one can hold everyone's weight forever. That's how you get secondhand trauma, you know? A lot of times people will get that secondhand trauma just by holding someone else's baggage for so long. And that's not a rule, that's not like defined will happen, but it can. And so while she's dealing with her own severe trauma of losing her mother and being alone, and she hasn't dealt with that, now she's taking on everyone else's trauma and everyone else's issues, and she has to hold that too while she's repressing her own stuff even further. And the closer we get to season 3, I just think that she's going to implode.
Yeah, I mean, Momiji really spells it out in support of your theory. He says, this girl was a lovely person. It's a waste of time to think of what you might lose in life, and that she was just trying to be kind. And that's why he views the most idiotic traveler as being not an idiot, just really, really kind. And I think that people who keep giving and giving and giving and they don't get anything back, it's not being an idiot, that's for sure, because kindness is never stupid. But it's also not just being kind, because in order to be kind to others, you also have to be kind to yourself. And I know that being selfish has like negative connotations, but taking care of yourself is not a bad thing to do.
Self-care is so important, and I don't know who listening to this needs to hear that, but like, take care of yourself. Like, please, everyone listening to this, it's okay to have time for self-care. It's important. We can't function without it. Tohru needs to hear that. Like, you need to hear that. I need to hear that. Everyone needs to just take self-care very seriously, because without it, you can only go so far.
Speaking of self-care, they're going to an inn.
Ooh, yes, a hot spring nonetheless.
Yeah, that's pretty nice.
There's a really cute scene in between when Kyo tells her all about how he's going to come with her, which I know that you enjoy very much.
Oh yeah, that's one of my favorite scenes. I think it's really cute how, I don't know, he just softens up and it's cute.
Yes. But now we're at the end and we are introduced to Ritsu's mom.
Ritsu's mom is a lot. But even more of a lot is Tohru's reaction to even being able to go to the hot spring. Because she's like, I feel like a princess. And I mean, I would feel like a princess too. But Kyo, he doesn't quite understand it. And he wonders why something so small could make Tohru feel so special.
And I think that this is very telling at the different circumstances in which they grew up in. Because when we think of Kyo, we think of a very troubled childhood, because he did. He had a very difficult childhood. But in reality, and this doesn't affect anything other than like maybe the quality of house he lived in his parents' financial status, which doesn't make up by any means for awful parenting and parents that just treated him very poorly. But he grew up with some probably nicer things. And so going to the Soma Estates hot spring isn't that crazy because, this was just probably a normal thing in his life. Whereas Tohru likely grew up with such close means, probably at a lower socioeconomic status, that something like this really does make her feel like a princess and pampered. And just, it's crazy to see how, even though they both come from such difficult circumstances, there is still somewhat of that difference in upbringing, just based off of things like socioeconomic status.
Yeah. I mean, they get money put into their accounts and they don't worry about anything. But Tohru, just before, she spent all of her money on chocolates, and now she has to work really, really hard to make up for that so she can go on her school trip. And everyone else is like, just ask your grandpa. Do you need help? I'll do it.
Yeah.
So it's interesting to see which stressors which characters have, because they each have different stressors.
And money seems to be, she is happy to spend it on others. Money can be a stressor for Tohru because she just probably didn't have a lot.
But we get introduced to Ritsu's mom, who is loud. So one thing I want to point out that Ritsu's mom said is, she says, "I always wanted to believe you were a good boy even though you're the cat." She says that to Kyo. Obviously. No, she said it to Tohru.
She's confused.
She's very confused. And I really, I don't know, I stuck to that line because it's that moment that you realize, oh my gosh, the parents are so entangled in this Zodiac story. We saw it with Hatsuharu, and it wasn't specified that the parents were making fun of him, but you know that people who weren't just like Zodiac members were making fun of him for being dumb and the ox and being tricked by the rat and stuff like that. So he was being teased by someone, and now we know that the parents are aware that Kyo is supposed to be a villain and that the cat is no good. And she is an outlier because she always wanted to believe that Kyo was a good person despite being the cat. And that's a lot. That sentence alone. And Kyo doesn't even bat an eye to it because it's just, duh. That's like anyone saying to Hatsuharu, "I always wanted to believe you were smart even though you're the ox." Like, it's just a given at this point. It's the role that they play. But oh man, that line, when I heard it, I was like, "Yo, getting shot again, jeez."
Oof. Okay, but after that, we're in the hot spring, and Tohru is walking in, and she brings her mom's photo. And there's kind of a lot that happens with this, but maybe I'm just reading into it, which is very possible.
The amount of pre-planning that she went through to bring a Ziploc bag to put her mom's photo into. I mean,
I think it ties back into just that difficulty coping that we talked about a little bit before. But then Ritsu's mom comes out and they're having a conversation. And this brought me to a completely different conclusion than you might think I'm going to. Because when Ritsu's mom said, "I feared that an outsider knowing about the Zodiac would result in harm to the Somas," the camera isn't on Ritsu's mom. It's not on Tohru. It is exclusively on the picture of Tohru's mom while she is saying this. Okay? Which leads me to think that this is a very subtle, I didn't notice this. Why would I have noticed this the first time watching it? This is a very subtle way of the show telling me that an outsider, Kyoko, knew about the Zodiac, and it resulted in harm to the Somas. I don't know exactly how that came about or how that goes down, but I think that this ties directly into my theory that she and Kyo were close at one point, and maybe she found out about him being the cat, and perhaps she got involved with the Soma state of affairs at some point. At the very least, I want to see if this is a thread that gets pulled, you know, or if this is just a random like trick of the camera.
Okay, but that's just a theory.
Just a theory, but I think that Kyoko has more of an involvement with the Zodiac than just Kyo.
Who knows? Do you know? I don't know.
You do know, you're just not telling me.
I'm looking at my bookshelf. It has no manga on it anymore. They're gone. I never read it. I wiped it from my memory.
It's just been a lie this whole time.
I just really read that Wikipedia page very well. Okay, but another thing that is brought up that I am cranky that we never had more of is Ritsu's mom says that she was initially worried about Tohru because, you know, the whole outsider knowing about the Zodiac thing. Specifically because Ritsu has psychological wounds.
Which...
What?
Why don't we talk about that?
I would love to talk about that.
Like, we don't...
more.
I want to know more about Ritsu, because right now, I don't really like him that much. Well, we'll talk about that when we watch the Ritsu episode. But I think I could really like Ritsu if we found out in more detail about these psychological wounds. You know, empathy's a cool thing.
I like doing the empathy thing.
Empathy is my favorite.
I would hope so.
Yeah, I mean, counseling.
Yeah, I wish we got to explore that more.
No, yeah.
I don't know. But then we get, just one of my favorite scenes. I love this episode. The ping pong scene. And it is just so adorable from start to finish. I love it. It puts a smile on my face. If you're having a bad day, I mean, just go watch it. Just go watch it, and then you
just
can
that
run...
scene. Honestly, that and Cinderella-ish. Those two scenes just can put a smile on anyone's face anytime.
Exactly, and then you can be just like Yuki, and you can run out of the room and hide your little giggle. I am a simple person with simple needs, and my need is this.
Okay.
But after that ping pong scene, like I said, Yuki ran away and he goes to giggle. And this is the moment that I don't like, personally, because it makes me cringe. He gives Tohru the ribbon, and then he has to be awkward and flirt with her. It is notable that he says, "Do you like the act?" Because it's an act. Like, we don't even need to have that be announced now. We will go over further in season 2 how much of an act it was. He didn't know that he shouldn't be flirting with her. That is his mom. Yuki, knock it off. But, it's so awkward.
No, it really... I remember watching this the first time around, and it's never felt right. You know, it never was like, ooh, so suave. It was like, oh my gosh, stop. Like, you're hurting the children. Like, I can't. It, like, didn't I have to leave the room for this scene? I think I did. Or we had to pause or something.
I don't remember.
It hurt me. I do remember that.
And I was like, you don't ship them? What do you mean? Because of course I wasn't giving away spoilers. But...
I was like, no. No. Too awkward, too uncomfortable. But she blushed really hard. And then she talked about all of the princes. And... well, they were playing ping pong, and she called Kyo a cool prince. And I think that's hilarious. Because he's a nerd. He's not cool.
I love how this is our new thing now. It's like, Yuki, do not flirt with your mother. And Kyo, you're a nerd, okay? You're just a nerd. So
we say that very affectionately, though. Like, we love Kyo. So affectionately. Like, being a nerd's a good thing. But, like, he's not traditionally cool. Like, he's a dweeb.
John, we record 40-minute long podcasts talking about anime. I'm pretty sure that everyone knows that we don't judge nerds. We are them.
People don't think I'm the coolest.
I don't think that's the first perception. I think you're the coolest. Anyways, okay, I'm not flirting with you. We're done.
that felt like a pity coolest.
No, you're the coolest.
Aw, thanks. You're the coolest too. Aw.
Stop. Okay, they're getting ready to leave the hot spring. We're back on track, gosh darn it. And this is when Tohru has a very awkward moment. Because she finds out that Momiji is in fact not going into middle school. He is not a child. And I love this scene as a woman because no one thinks about that. And it's never stated. You just have to look at Tohru's face and be like, oh my gosh. Like, she had no idea. Like, she let this kid get so close. Because she did not know.
Oh my gosh. He was all up in her space.
Yeah.
Oh, it's too much. Last scene of the show. Just Shigure. He bought a strange dress for Tohru.
Probably from IMA shop.
Probably, now that you mention it. And, Haru delivers the best line of the episode. One of these days you're going to be arrested.
Beautiful.
And, just a perfect capstone on the perfect episode.
Beautiful. Roll credits. I love it.
Roll credits. So, I don't know. I love this episode. Is there anything else that you want to talk about with it? Because this podcast is getting quite long.
Oops. No, I'm good.
All right. Well, then that will do it for this week's episode of our Fruits Basket podcast. Thanks again so incredibly much for getting us to 10K. We're either almost there or we already reached it. Who knows? But we really, really appreciate it. So if you haven't liked this video yet, make sure to do that. Subscribe, and why not even ring that notification bell so you never miss another upload. And tell us down in the comment section what you thought about this episode. But as always, we hope you have a fantastic rest of your day, a fantastic rest of your week, and why not even a fantastic rest of your month. And we will see you in the next episode. Later.